Welcome back to Shanghai, where we just witnessed two best-of-3 series being played live here from the Super Rare Mall Arena in Shanghai. But we've got a special surprise. So Reds, let's get rid of these. We don't need them anymore because we've got a brand new game going on. It's going to be LGD taking on Suning. It's going all the way to game number 3, and we're going to cast just that.
It's the bonus stage. You didn't expect it. It wasn't advertised, but who the hell cares? It's a free game for you people as we're in Hangzhou Stadium.
And straight into picks and bans we go. It's currently 1-1 LGD against Suning. First match we saw Suning just absolutely style an LGD in front of their home crowd. In the second game, Imp and PYL popped up and were able to carry the team to victory. Now, game number 3, already a couple of bans coming through. Malzahar, Zoe, as well as On have been banned out by LGD. And we have Azir, as well as Sejuani taken away, and I believe that's a Kog'Maw.
Yeah, it is. 100% that's the Kog'Maw ban. So immediately the Rise being picked up, just for the context for people who haven't watched this series, it was successful for the side of LGD. They picked it up for themselves and they found a win off of it. This is Yuki coming in, of course. Remember, they don't have Cool. This is the first time the audience is getting a look into LGD in the English broadcast here, where they have two brand new, very green mid laners, Yuki and Nanji. So we get to see a little bit more of Yuki and if he can really support the team, if he can actually lead it with this Rise pick here.
Let's see what he can do heading into this next game. Jarvan and Tahm Kench were picked up by Suning. Braum being locked in by Amy, and now waiting to see what the final pick for LGD will be during the first round of drafts.
And Tahm Kench is a good takeaway here if you're Suning Gaming. Yoon has really made a masterpiece of the pick last year. This year, it's 100% picked or banned here. It's such a good pick. LGD won with it with PYL in game 2. So now that they have it, it's going to be a real interesting draw to see what LGD tend to do in the bottom side of the map, because that's how they won game 2.
LGD's final pick in the first draft rotation is going to be Gameplay. We've seen it played a couple of times here today, where Suning will respond with Ezreal as the AD carry pick of choice.
Yeah, it's a comfort pick for Jinwoo here. He wants to play carries. He won with it in game 2. It's just kind of, that's how it feels like. This is the big thing here, is if you win with it in game 2, you draw a comfort with it, nothing was wrong there, pick it up again.
Now, heading into the second ban phase between Suning and LGD. Suning really taking their time with this one. Take away Kalista, banning out Imp's champion pool, which seems smart, Raz. Although we didn't get to watch too much of the last game, Imp was the one that carried his team to victory. Vitamin is the instant response from LGD.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the Varus is going to follow up as well. Imp has been playing it the entire series long. You'd want to start really cutting into those picks. Kalista's an interesting one. It's actually Sivir. That's really surprising to me. I know that Imp is the one, like one of the only AD carries in the league that actually plays it, but I would say Varus, just because you have I would say the edge on the matchup. You have the range. Sure, Ezreal has range too, but you have wave clear, and we've already seen with the first 2 sets earlier today what the Varus wave clear can actually do for you.
And Imp actually played Varus in that last match against Suning. So
yeah,
it's surprising that Sivir's the final ban coming out from Suning Gaming, whereas Cassiopeia is the final ban from LGD.
I mean, it just comes down to the fact they're afraid of what Sivir can do with the composition. Ryze can run at you. You don't want that happening. So I can understand the fear from the coach, the fear from the team that you don't want Sivir being put up, but we talked up Varus so much here. It's not a surprise at all that now that Imp gets that opportunity, he's going to pick it up for himself. Instantly
locked in by LGD, waiting to see what their final pick is going to be. But what the heck's happening in Hangzhou, Raz? Because Camille's made it all the way to the final pick rotation for Suning, something we never see.
I don't know, man. I wish I had another cue card that I can just throw at the camera once again. I actually have no idea how it fell so down deep here.
And that's a Shyvana being locked in by LGD as the final pick. We've seen a Shyvana ban, but we have not seen one play just yet, and we get a Kassadin as the final pick for Suning Gaming.
This game is fun. This is hilarious. I mean, we've seen a Shyvana a little bit while back in Korea. It was one of those picks that came out. I believe it was during the Kespa Cup. You know, don't quote me on it. I remember it very vaguely. But I've been seeing that pick go around in solo queue, and I despise the pick. Not because it's bad, but because it's bad to play against. If she's just like farming so quickly, she's going to be going towards her items, and she punishes teams that really can't get an early game going quickly. Sure, she doesn't have that good of a gank presence, but if she's not farming that quickly, she puts you on a timer. She puts Jarvan on a time, because team fighting against Shyvana 30 minutes into the game, as a Jarvan, you feel inadequate.
especially if the Shrine is able to pick up a couple of dragons here and there throughout the match. We saw the Camille pick come out from Suning Gaming. That is going to be a top lane Camille, so expect the comment, expect the harass up against a Gangplank Jarvan heading into the jungle. What do you think about that top lane matchup though, Raz?
The top lane matchup is spicy. I mean, GP, sure, he has the ability to farm fairly cleanly in the lane. A lot of people have actually in the LPL so far has been picking GP into the Camille, but remember what that actually means. Camille has dive threat. Who does she have? Jarvan. A lot more dive threat. Probably gonna have some stopwatches, and she has a Kassadin with TP as well, so it feels like that top lane's gonna be under a lot of threat.
Let's see what Suning Gaming can do up against LGD here. Remember, they picked up game number 1. Although we know we did not broadcast this on the English broadcast, it was a one-sided affair for Suning. LGD were able to fight back through their bottom lane in game number 2. And is that where we're going to be looking once more for LGD, Raz?
It always comes down to it. Even though in the picks you think about the top lane, when you think about Suning, you think about Xiao Al. But when it comes down to LGD, it's always down to Imp and PYL. That's what it is. Because they have superstars in that position. For PYL, he's been slipping lately. And that's why it's kind of sad when it comes to PYL and how his last years have been. But when victories do come through LGD, it's off Imp and PYL.
And earlier in the week, we saw LGD open up their brand new arena from Hangzhou, and they opened with a loss, Raz.
Yes.
So now they have the chance to redeem themselves in front of their home crowd against Suning Gaming, who a lot of analysts on our desk have rated pretty highly going into this split of the LPL.
Yes, I have as well. I mean, I love myself some Knight. I loved how Knight has been playing in the LSPL. The crowd's going in there. There we go. I mean, it's there. Somehow, some Suning fans have crept into Hangzhou Stadium. Unharmed as well. I appreciate them. But back to it. Like you talked about, this is the second series that LGD has had in their Hangzhou Stadium. They cannot lose. I've heard rumors about how it felt for them to get smashed by Jingdong in the first series in the season opener for them. It feels bad. It's never been done in the LPL before, having a stadium in your name, and when it finally happened, they lose like that. They have to rewrite that.
And we were watching the second series, I believe it was Snake versus FunPlus Phoenix, when Snake opened up their arena. And we were saying, oh no, it's the curse. LGD lost it, now Snake were losing game 1, but they were able to pick up the victory there in game number 2 only.
It's turning into a meme now. You're kind of afraid for what's going to happen in Chengdu. I'm just putting that out there.
Well, let's see if that curse continues, because a loss at the LGD Stadium to kick things off, a loss at the Snake Stadium, and now they're fighting for that third and final point. We're heading into the third and final match of Suning against LGD. You can already see Hacker starting at his own blue buff, moves straight away over towards red, but top lane Xiao Al gets a ton of harass over towards the Gangplank.
Hitting the jungle even harder. It's really good from Hacker to be able to notice that this was happening, that his red buff was getting stolen, get a whiff of that and go towards the red buff. But very smart from PYL to kick him out. So you're not here, you don't have a backstage pass, get the hell out of here. So, in the end, suddenly Hacker just has a blue buff. He's getting triple buffed unless he can find a way to magically get into the enemy blue. Nah, he's looking to have a deficit early on going up against the Shyvana.
Yep, good play coming out from PYL, rotated over towards the red buff to deny Hacker from taking that one away. Now he's stuck on his wolf camp, whereas Amy will be able to farm up quite nicely on the Shyvana. Something you mentioned earlier, Rez, Shyvana will be able to farm, and it does get quite a hassle for the opposition to deal with.
Yep, I mean, it's the most uninteractive gameplay, honestly. It's not getting people off their seats, noticing that Shyvana is going to be able to clear her entire jungle out, the Scuttle Crab as well. Just try and take as much farm as possible and maybe just solo out the dragon when she gets the opportunity. But it's happening, and Jarvan's got to do something about it.
Now you can see the trades top side of Matt Gangplank standing on the top of his barrels in case Camille does just that, jumping on top and getting some damage in with the Comet.
He's going for it again.
Once more.
If once you don't succeed, you gotta try again. Ah, he's afraid. He doesn't want to do it.
No, he went to check Raptor Camp. Raptor Camp was taken away by Amy. Red buff's still up though.
Yeah, he doesn't know about that. He probably saw an opportunity to perhaps gank mid lane with how Yuki's been pushing this one out, but he's just not finding it. It feels way too hard to be able to get that down.
Knight going to be using his first teleport to get back into the mid lane. Where's top side of Map Gangplank gets some good damage down, and it's first blood to the Gangplank.
The man is burning alive, and we've seen this twice already. 2 Gangplank plays where he's like, I've got you burning. I don't have to chase you. I already know how much damage it is going to take to take you down. So, I mean, Jinu just sits quietly, gets a solo kill.
Definitely a trial by fire, and it's going to be Xiao who will be forced to teleport back into the lane. Let's see if Gangplank does the exact same heading back to the top lane matchup a good start for the LGD top laner.
Yes, and the crowd's starting to get into it. As we're looking back at the replay, you can see the reasoning for Xiao to go in on this. Jinu has no mana. That's all it comes down to it. Not going to be able to throw out a Q, or at least 2 Qs. So, I mean, this is a fairly long replay for exactly what's being shown, but it finally guns up. Oh, it wasn't even going in on him.
Just went for the little low sweep res.
Yep.
And Kleptomancy saved him there. He got a blue pot. He got a mana pot res.
That's very sad.
Woo!
But yeah, Xiao, he was kept honest. At the end of the day, he thought he could farm up. It's not going to happen.
So 1-0 to LGD. They get a slight goal lead on the top side of the map. We can check in with the rest of the lanes. Fury actually doing fairly well at the bottom side of the map against Imp. But it's still a lot of focus on the Shyvana, a lot of focus on the top side of the map. Amy will finally clear out his own red buff.
Yeah, I mean, right now Shyvana is ahead of the pace, as we were kind of alluding to. I am a little bit surprised that Fury and Yoon are doing this well in lane. Sure, Braum is a good safety point for the Varus, but it's been interesting. Perhaps they've been taking a few bad trades. Perhaps Fury's been finding a few Qs in the lane.
We finally get to take a look at that bottom lane. Very safe lane, Ezreal as well as Tahm Kench. But Raz Hacker, once again, happy feeding. He's inside of Amy's jungle. Not going to find any camps, going back to base once more. Slowly, that farm deficit is increasing. This is exactly what you talked about. Tell me, Raz, what has to happen here for Hacker? Because nothing's working out for this Jarvan.
Yeah, it's a low-value surveillance camera. He's trying to find everything, but then he's... Like, that's the exact part he's missing, is what's happening in his own home. He's lost Grump. Probably lost Wolfcamp. I wonder if Amy's going to go for it. I actually think this might be a bad idea, only because I have foresight into what the hell Hacker's going to run into.
But it's a level 3 Jarvan against a level 5 Shyvana. Hacker will take 4 from that smite, now looking for the rest of his team to collapse. Ezreal as well as Tahm Kench on their way. Kassadin's going to blast Cone over as well. Riftwalk comes in from Ryze. Yuki's going to try and lock him down. Kassadin fairly low, but Amy does fall for that invade. Now Yuki's the one that's in trouble. Ignite is ticking. Ryze in trouble. Flash over the wall. Hacker follows through, and it's going to be Yoon that picks up the kill with Ignite.
Might be able to find PYL as well.
That's a flash forward. Tahm Kench on the hunt. Imp was stuck farming bottom lane. Imp getting a bit greedy there, Raz.
I mean, there was no play to be seen. Sure, I think Imp was just realizing he can push it in. Maybe they lose a wave off of the entire play. But the disaster started with Amy thinking he could take a Wolfcamp. When things are going so well for you, why not take an extra step is what he thought. But that was a bad step. He goes for Wolfcamp, and they're just not even going to show it, because this is when it started to matter. They start to jump on top of the Shyvana. The team of LGD are like, okay, maybe we can help you, but that's the wrong mistake. That's the wrong decision here.
And right as we were questioning Hacker, what does he have to do? It's just being gifted to him. He finds Amy inside his Wolfcamp. We'll be able to catch up slightly. Shyvana's still holding on to a nice CS lead, though, in the jungle. We'll have to keep tabs of that, because that could help out LGD in the long run. Yep.
I think the biggest tail, or at least the telltale here, is going to be in the mid lane specifically, just because the Kassadin was able to get a lot of gold underneath him. So sure, Shyvana is going to be able to get back onto the map and should keep that pace going. But if your lane is starting to lose, then you got to start to wonder, what's your next step?
Amy's still going to continue farming. Has ticked to level 6, so Shyvana does have that dangerous ultimate available. We were taking a look at the top side of the map. We might continue to do so because Amy is walking up here to get behind Jinu. But Gangplank, although a kill ahead, still not doing too well against this Camille matchup.
It's kind of tough. I feel like the lane has been in this position forever. Every single time the observer takes a look up top side, Xiao Al has had the wave clear, or at least the wave specifically in this position, which is the safest position Xiao Al could have it in. He can check it and push it if Jinu decides to push the wave in, and he can tank the wave so he doesn't necessarily need to, or at least doesn't need to let it go into the turret. Because if GP just tries to walk up to and damage him, he gets an all-in his face.
And this is not good for Yuki. You can see one combo from Knight takes him down to half health. He tries to respond as much as he can against the Kassadin, but just doesn't do as much damage at the current state of the game.
Yeah, right now, Yuki just has a lot of mana underneath him, so he can look for those trades, he can consistently push, and Knight, sure, he has half mana, but he has to think about what that actually means, because of his ability to clear mid-wave is pretty difficult. He'll have to expend a lot of mana, which means that he's just going to take it and sit under turret for it.
Blue buff has come up for both mid laners, though, so we'll have to see if Hacker or Amy are able to gift those over to their mid laners, both of which do expend a lot of mana here. First one will be Yuki. He picks his up right away.
Back on the map immediately. You use this TP for it. That's the beauty of Spellbook. Gotta love it.
Whereas Knight is running TP but does not have Unsealed Spellbook. So
yeah,
that'll be on a slightly longer cooldown.
That's the thing about Kassadin. You can just end up going straight towards the area instead, just because TP is going to have value for you no matter what, right? If you're a Kassadin, you want to be split pushing later on in the game, so what's the point of trying to go towards a Ghost if you're already that mobile? So it makes sense for Kassadin to just stick to TP throughout the game. There's nothing that's necessarily going to lock him down other than the Varus and Ryze, but even still, you would say, well, you're Kassadin, you're going to be fairly tanky, depending on Knight's build, because most Kassadins have been going Abyssal Mass. If he doesn't, then that's questionable.
Well, he finds Yuki again. They're going to go for a bit of a trade. This time it's Knight that gets the worst end of the trade, but just back and forth between the two. Nothing too drastic just yet. And they're just going to go at it, Raz. They're not happy with one another.
Yeah, but ultimately this game is kind of slowed down in the sense that, you know, it's not too bad for LGD. The early step mess up, the misstep coming in from Amy, that was worrying, but Suning Gaming haven't actually been able to do anything from that point forward, which is great for Amy, because now Amy can actually slowly, he can clear up his waves, and then he can actually start to rotate or at least refocus the game towards the Dragon.
We do check in with the top side of the map again. Juno really relying on these Kleptomancy trades to get some form of potions to keep himself sustained on the top side of the map.
Yeah, the
Even went for the corrupting potion earlier.
Potion's looking good for him though, because he's been getting chipped out so much. Woo, get out of there.
That's an interaction. Amy tries to take down Hacker. He just flags and drags his way away. Now it's Yuki that's in a sticky situation here. Tom Kench coming into the mid lane as well, but goodbye.
Goodbye. That's the greatest thing about Stopwatch Ryze. It's the freedom to do that at level 8. What kind of nonsense is that? At the very least, he still gets punished. He still has to base, and that means this could be a free tower here for Suning.
Might certainly be. No rotation coming out from LGD's bottom lane, but the safety of the Cannon Barrage stops that push from Suning.
It's safety, but Suning have to think the next step. Because if Jinu's Cannon Barrage is being used for ulti, or at least wave clear mid lane, then top lane has to be the next focus, because you know what? Jinu suddenly doesn't have the ability to back himself up if he gets dived. Right now, I actually want to see Hacker then push focus towards top lane and try and get a dive. Usually GPs would want that to happen, but if he actually used ulti to get mid lane out of the sticky situation, then he can't really protect his own.
And still no focus on either of the neutral objectives, Raz. No one has looked towards Rift Herald, no one has made a play towards the Dragon, which is surprising, especially with a Shyvana in the match.
Yeah, it's a little bit of fear from both teams, I'm not going to lie. Both teams, Suning specifically, if you get a position like that, where the first kill goes down, and if Fury and Yoon are looking that good, there was an opportunity for Imp and PYL to get dived, but it never really came about. They didn't want to use Knight's TP to get a fight going. It felt like if they used it, then suddenly Jinu would throw ulti, then Amy would be there, and 100%, if Amy shows up with full rage meter, that's a lost dive. You can't do that. So that fear is going to permeate. It's actually going to be difficult for Suning to ever look for a proactive play because they don't know where Shyvana is.
Yoon forced to flash away from the ultimate thrown out by Imp there as he was caught warding inside of LGD's jungle. But the bottom side of the map, Fury's been doing well, has picked up a lot of gold through Kleptomancy, and has his Iceborne Gauntlet and Tear of the Goddess stacking. And so they do have a decent amount of priority over the bottom lane for now.
Yeah, they got good scaling on their team, honestly. If Fury is getting to the point, usually this is the weakest point for an Ezreal 12 minutes into the game. Sure, he has a little bit of armor, but he's trying to get to a 20-minute point. But Yuki!
That's a play in the mid lane, trying to collapse onto Yuki. Hextech GLP thrown out by Knight as well, but they just get the flash out of the Ryze.
I mean, that's nice, the fact that Ryze doesn't have flash anymore, and could mean a lot for the next team fight, but that means that Suning have to force that next fight. If they don't do anything with it, then that's just Yuki getting out for free.
And again, checking with the top side of the map. Junu's Cannon Barrage is about to come back up and Xiao.
Oh, let's not have a replay of the top lane.
Ooh.
Right now, Jinu is doing a really good job at just keeping top lane pressure off of them.
But there could be a play made towards bottom side of the map because Yuki has used his teleport to get back into the mid lane. Imp has been forced out of the bottom lane. This could be Dragon picked up by Suning and potentially bottom lane out to turret as well.
Yeah, Dragon would be a very safe call here from Suning because they don't necessarily want to immediately be bottom lane. You can already see where Shyvana is. If she tries to push that gank off, it would be successful. So they're getting both with the price of one. I mean, they get at least with the price of two with one play, one move. So free Dragon, free bottom lane. Really nice start from Suning.
You have to remember that Suning also have decent damage on the mid lane outer turret from that earlier push. This denies a Dragon away from Shyvana and also puts a Mountain Dragon in the back pocket of Suning. Top side of the map, Xiao Al still doing fine against Junu in the top lane. We expect this to continue for some time until gameplay starts to tick over with more items picked up.
Yeah, and this is kind of time ticking for Shyvana, because if these towers are starting to go down, then that's more vision being encroached upon her own jungle.
And it's LGD that make the first proactive swap. They send Imp and PYL into the top lane to try and push down the top lane outer turret, sending Gangplank into the prolonged lane in the bottom lane.
And with the Dragon being taken down early on, a lot of the objective pressure is going to be on the Rift Herald. So now if this push is being made, and if it doesn't necessarily turn into a tower for Imp and PYL, it could very easily turn into a Rift Herald for Amy, which I love to see, and would be the first, I would say, proactive play that they can make with it. It would be a great gift to them to be able to put it in the mid lane.
There's a teleport being used here as Knight trying to get behind
Oh.
Juno. Juno's running down the longest center part of the lane, but he was spotted out by a ward, so Juno should be able to get back to safety.
Yeah, good
Knight
look.
will be wasting his teleport. Amy now chasing down Hacker, throws out the Dragon Form. There is a blast cone. Can he get over the wall?
Oh.
He does, and escapes.
That's a misclick. Don't look at him.
Amy still trying to hunt him down. But Hacker was able to get out, Raz.
Kind of.
Was a little bit scared.
I would say kind of, because Shyvana is still there. The bottom lane is still looking, or at least the dual lane are still looking to knock on the top lane tower. It's just still very unsafe for Hacker. It's very unsafe for Suning in the top side of the map. But yeah, he's out. He's alive. That's all you can really hope for, I guess.
And now the item advantage is massive for Juno. He has a Trinity Force complete just to the phage that was picked up by Xiao, but there's a Castle in the back pocket of the top laner from Suning. There's the counter brush from Juno, just trying to create some distance. He's trying to go 2-on-1, pops his own Hourglass. Xiao Ao jumps back in. This should be a kill for Suning, and Knight picks that one up.
Yeah, there's really no hope for him. He was trying to buy for as much time as possible, just so they can stick down there. You know, hopefully LGD are getting something in the top lane. Not actually happening. It feels like that's just a free pick for Suning.
So LGD going to try and push down top lane outer turret. Two members of Suning were in the bottom lane. Xiao Ao still has his own teleport, so he can move up to the top lane if he's required to do so.
Just a lot of non-committal wave clear, like Ezreal ulti being used on the wave here. It's so difficult for LGD to find any real damage, real problems here on the top side of the map. That turret's free, so it feels like Suning Gaming just gets so much off of just Knight's one movement. Go bottom lane, get a kill, now go back to mid lane. Really nothing happening for LGD.
Two turrets picked up already by Suning Gaming. None for LGD. That creates a 3,000 gold advantage for the red team. Hacker even getting some counter jungling done against Amy. He's already picked up his Cinder Hulk. Will be nice and tanky as this game goes on.
Yeah, I think it comes down to a time frame for when Amy is going to be really strong here. He wants to go towards a frozen mallet so he can have some HP, can be able to chase people down, because Hacker's been successfully eluding him, just being able to get out of there. Sure, the blast cone did wonders for Hacker, but if he gets a frozen mallet pretty early on, then that really won't be something that he'll be hoping for.
There's Imp going aggressive top side of map. PYL was waiting in the wings. But good play coming out from Suning. Fury will be able to arcane shift away, and Young will eat him up and take him back to safety.
Yeah, it's the annoying time catch once again. Doesn't matter what pick you get, if you can hit your various skill shot, you just get eaten and transported to a new distance. I don't like this champion. I don't like this champion at all, Fish.
Well, there's a reason why a lot of teams are banning it out, Raz. They don't like it either. But it is Suning that have been able to pick it up. The game's gone a little bit quiet once more, but Suning should be in a very comfortable spot here. As you said, they are scaling up. They just had to watch that ticking time bomb of Amy, and Hacker seem to be in a decent position now.
Yeah, you talked about how the game's getting quiet. It's mostly because both of these teams are afraid of making that one crucial mistake with how snowbally the compositions can get from both teams.
1-on-1 in the bottom lane. Gangplank going to get the ultimate down. So does Xiao Ao, but Rise has been delivered down, and Amy was waiting in the wings. Yuki picks up that kill.
There we go. Nice response from LGD. You did it to kill Jinnu, and now they're doing it back to Xiao Ao. Feels like both top laners here are getting a lot of help. So I wonder who's going to get the next help. Who's going to be hopping in? Is it going to be the Kassadin? Is it going to be Rise once again and impact that solo matchup?
Gives LGD some breathing room. They were 3,000 gold behind. That's brought them back a little bit closer. Now 2,000 gold behind Suning. They've got some decent scaling themselves, Raz. I mean, Varus is no shy character in the late game. Rise and Gangplank do alright. They're no Kassadin, but still okay.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because there are scaling elements for both teams. That's true. Ezreal, we already mentioned it earlier on the desk, has the highest damage per minute of the LPL so far in terms of 80 carries, most picked 80 carry. Once you get to your item break points, usually takes about like 23 minutes into the game, which is pretty close to have those 3 items for you, Blade of the Rune King, Muramana, and Iceborne Gauntlet. That's when you start doing real damage. But the problem does come into the fact that how can LGD kind of position barrels? How do they position these fights? Because they have to have the right proper positioning. And if Amy can find that one target, it's going to be hard for Hacker to play frontline.
Xiao getting some good damage onto Amy inside of Sunning's jungle. And you know, as you mentioned, the Ezreal pick, Iceborne Gauntlet, as well as that Blade of Rune King and the Muramana picked up. As soon as those items are complete, it's going to be much easier for him because there are no tanks on LGD's lineup except for PYL.
Yeah. So
Amy's gone for the Devourer Enchant jungle items.
That's true. It mostly comes into how you set up the team fight, because I think Sunning Gaming, they need to be able to get the necessary poke down, and it will last. Like, get the poke onto Shyvana, she's not very tanky, it will hurt her. You get the poke down on anyone else, they're not tanky as well, unless if you get it onto Braum, then that's a problem in and of itself. Like, there are setup opportunities as well as Knight, and if they can find that opportunity, then it is a snowball. They can start like jumping on top of them. Knight, or at least Fury lands Qs, can still essence forward onto the enemy team. Same with Knight, has presence of mind, of course, so he can look towards this.
Oh, Hacker flashes over the wall, is able to get the ultimate down onto Juno. Juno will flash out of that one. Just trading summoner spells in the top lane as Knight and Juno went for a little bit of a brawl. Ping's going down onto the Ocean Dragon. Amy wants to pick up the first one for LGD of this game, buffing up not only Shyvana, but also the rest of the team with their first Elemental Dragon.
And that'll help them. It would have been a little bit damaging if Suning Gaming were able to take that. But now that LGD have it for themselves, that does mean that the initial poke that we were worried about with Fury no longer is not that bad. You can actually kind of just play it back a little bit if the poke does land, and you can heal up from it.
Fury flirting with danger right there. It's Tom Kench going deep into the backlines against Imp and PYL. Locked down instantly by the Braum passage. Riot's going to try and jump into this fight as well. Fury stuck atop the Braum ultimate, but Xiao jumps to the backlines, locks down Imp inside of his own ultimate. He's going to try and carry out this fight, but Suning are just way too strong, taking down 3 members of LGD.
At first I was worried. I don't know why Yoon was the only one that came into it, but the moment Camille just drops into it, uses her ulti, nowhere for Imp to go, then you have 2 assassins in front of you. Kassadin and Camille do way too much damage for Imp to be able to protect himself.
The forced team fight works out for Suning Gaming. They move straight over towards the Baron pit. 2,000 health, only Rise as well as Gangplank here to try and take this one away, but it is Baron picked up by Suning Gaming. Junu's gonna fall for that one as well. Yuki's trying to run away. Big play by Suning Gaming.
And it's starting to look very similar to game 1. 7-2, Suning Gaming find the opportunity and they're starting to make it work. So it just feels like the composition. We talk about Camille being a broken champion, being a champion that's too hard to work against, and I would say in these team fight situations, and it's starting to come true. Usually, I remember last year when Camille was a big deal, it was like Camille and Galio, right? You have so much front line, how are you going to be able to deal with it? In this game, this composition, it's more so, that's a lot of assassins in front of you. I don't know if you can survive, not so much the tankiness involved.
Here's a replay of that fight, Raz. Break us down. What happened? Because Yoon went in alone, and then suddenly everyone from Suning were here.
Yeah, this looked really good for LGD. They thought they had free damage on top of the Tom Kenchi. And you was like, okay, they go all in on it. And the moment they go all in, Camille breaks up the fight. The best thing about the ulti from Camille is her utility. Just kind of breaks everybody else apart, and suddenly it's just Imp fighting for himself. Yuki can't deal with it as well.
Or they can use it like this to lock down 1 member of the team. Junu, Deja Vu, as 2 members from Suning Gaming collapse on him in the bottom lane. They're going to push through a Baron buff.
I like this duo. I just love the fact that Xiao, Al, and Knight are just working as a team everywhere they go. No one can survive that.
Even tanking up the turret slightly here. Suning Gaming throw down Rift Herald with their Baron buff. It's a disaster at best here for LGD, Raz. This is not looking good in the 3rd match.
And Knight doesn't even have his Lich Bane. That's what's so crazy about it. Doesn't even have that much burst on top of him. He's just kind of has that utility, has the Zhonya's Hourglass. LGD have to do something, but the answers are starting to run out.
Poor Rift Herald didn't even get a single useful charge in that entire push coming out from Suning, because they were just that quick pushing down the bottom lane turrets. They're going to recall, they're going to spend their gold and make their way for another push against LGD.
Just playing the role of an intimidating bodyguard, really. Just kind of shows up. What are you going to do? He's just so big. That's what happened. That's his role in this fight.
Well, unfortunately, Rift Herald doesn't get a chance to dance today, as Suning do try to make the safer play, so to speak. Go back to base, pick up more gold, use that gold advantage that they have, which is 9,000 over LGD to increase the lead and make these pushes much safer.
And this is when you look towards the team of LGD and you wonder what's going to bring them back into this game. It's a 10K gold lead in favor of Suning Gaming, but LGD still has a lot of kill potential. They still have a lot of threats. Literally everybody except for Braum is a damage dealer. It's that they don't have the damage yet. Maybe if they get to the 50-minute mark, but that seems difficult. And Jinu, instead of going towards the Infinity Edge, go towards more crit. Like we saw in Essence Reaver early last time, he has the Yomu's Ghostblade.
Oh, PYL's been caught out once more. Fury trying to get the Iceborne Gauntlet stacks onto him. Good damage onto the Braum, but not enough to take him down. He escapes, burning his flash to do so.
And with PIL that low, don't know how you protect this turret. They're even moving. They have the option to move towards the top lane tower too. These are 2 towers being threatened by Suning Gaming.
And only a single turret picked up by LGD throughout the course of this match. Now 11,000 gold is what separates these two teams. Suning are pushing on not only mid lane, but top lane as well.
You have Camille, you have Jarvan, you have Kassadin, you even have the big time Kench. This dive is going to happen, and I don't know how LGD are going to be able to fend it off.
Let's see if it does. Suning still pushing on 2 fronts. Now even sending Knight down into the bottom lane. His teleport is available, and that Kassadin is now incredibly mobile.
Yeah. Knight's even leading in that massive super minion wave too. I wonder what Suning can do, because they should dive. That's how good their composition is. But they don't necessarily have a GA on the Jarvan. Sure, he's gotten tanky, but if they make one mistake, there's no real free way to get out of it. So I think Suning are starting to take this one slow. They don't want to find themselves losing a game for free.
Well, they get a lot of it out of it, Raz. They get a team fight, they get Baron, they push down a couple of turrets and an inhibitor. So now they're just going to look and see if they can reset once more. Suning taking the safe route against LGD.
Yeah, I mean, whenever we talk about Suning, it's always the safe route, isn't it? It's always like, you know what, if LGD was in that position, they would go straight for the fight. We have a lead, let's go for the lead. Or at least let's go for the win.
What is the team that's winning in this game, Raz? It looks like they're going to win the best of 3 series. I wonder which one it is.
Yeah, you know what? That's fair. That's a fair criticism. I'll just say right now, Suning can benefit with a little bit more gusta.
Well, we see the gold lead between the two sides. Ezreal, 3,000 gold ahead of Imp. Earlier on, it would have been through Kleptomancy, but now through the massive leads that Suning have created across the map, it's going to be attributed towards that. 10 stacks of Dark Seal picked up by Knight as well. He has his Zhonya's Hextech GLP, Leandri's Torment picked up as well. This Kassadin is incredibly strong, and there's the duo once more, as waiting for this poor man. He's just a little pirate. Don't do it to him. They're chasing him down. Xiao flashes forward. He's locked down in the arena. Yuki's going to try and join the fight as well, but it's too little too late. The pirate has fallen. GLP being thrown in as well. Look at that. Even Yuki's too scared. He's going to try and get out of there as fast as he can.
I mean, he was playing it as safe as he possibly can. Jinu was even afraid of taking Krugs, but it doesn't matter, because if you are Camille, if you have Flash, you're jumping across the map.
And with that pick, they're going to try and push down mid lane once more. This is the pick that opened up the inhibitor. Mid lane inhibitor turret is already so low, and Suning just make quick work of it, Raz. LGD eventually have to put up a last stand. Where is it going to be?
I actually have no idea. I can't even answer for you. This last stand seems like it's going to happen in their own dreams. You look towards Shyvana. We were talking about the Frozen Mallet. That health crystal just sitting there, ruby crystal still sitting there, because they decided that you need to be a tank. The game is accelerating too quickly.
He said it's going to happen in their dreams, Raz. I'm pretty sure after this they're going to have nightmares. 2 losses if they lose this game on their home turf. Not a great start to the LPL for LGD.
Yeah, that's fair. Definitely going to be getting a talking to after this. You don't want to start your 2 first series in Hangzhou Stadium like this.
It just hasn't been a good few splits for LGD so far. I mean, last year they tried to make a late run. That didn't pan out for them. A few years before that, didn't look good for them early on in the splits. A recurring trend almost for LGD, whereas Suning, starting off strong in the LPL so far. Junu once more, getting caught out by Knight. Doesn't have his buddy of Xiao out there, but frankly, doesn't need him.
Yeah, doesn't even matter. Kassadin's just that strong. 5, 0, and 4 at the time. And he's just that tanky. That's what's so afraid of this one, is that you don't necessarily have to go the full Do-and-Be build of Iceborne Gauntlet. You can still build AP, be ahead of the pace in the game, have a lot of HP, and just sit on top of people for life.
Baron buff has once again respawned, and guess who's dead, Raz? It's Junu once more. So Suning are going to be able to take this one down. 4 on 5. No contests coming up from LGD. They sacked the Baron. But again, where's that last stand, Raz?
They're just waiting for a mistake from Suning Gaming, and none is being made. That's what's scary when we're talking about Suning Gaming. We were pretty hyped about this team coming in. The new faces, the new players. Of course, Tian's not being played here, so it's just Knight right now. But the team looks like they're starting to gel. And the mistakes are just not being made. So LGD, they're waiting for an opportunity, but they're just getting picked up.
This is the final inhibitor turret. Yes, bottom lane inhibitor has respawned, but this is the last proper objective to fight over before it's uncontested double super minions in every lane. Once Suning take down all the inhibitors. Fury being very aggressive here, and LGD are posturing for a fight.
The only CC that's going to be reliable here is going to be on Imp. So Imp needs to walk up to look for that Varus ulti, and if he does so, he's probably going to get jumped on, so you can see the predicament they're currently in.
Fury takes a bit of damage from the gangplank barrel, but not enough to push him away. Xiao Ao now jumps into the backlines, looking to wrap around with Knight. There's that duo we talked about before, and it breaks out into a team fight. Top lane inhibitor turret is going to fall. Knight jumping in once again. We see Java being eaten up. Xiao Ao diving straight into the backlines, but Suning once more, taking these team fights nice and slow. LGD have repelled them from the inhibitor for now. Fury now going back in. That's the first kill for Hacker. Xiao Ao jumps on top of Imp. He's gonna fall as well. Fury gets that kill. Knight all the way into the backlines, right behind the Nexus. And they're gonna try and push LGD back into the fountain, keeping them away from the entire map res. There's absolutely nothing they can do. Sunny, they're gonna star on LGD. An absolute shellacking in game number 3. They take them down in front of their home crowd.
Once again, LGD fall in their stadium, and Suning Gaming look pretty sick. Coming out of the week, 2-0. I don't think it can get much better for this team.
People have been sleeping on them, Raz. Suning doing so well to kick things off, as you mentioned. We hope to see more from them throughout the rest of the split. Joining us to wrap out the night is going to be Zach Rusty Pie. Rusty, what are your thoughts on Suning so far?
Not a rapper, Fish. I'm not sure how I'm going to wrap out the night, but I'll do my absolute best for you. We just before this game started, we were talking about Suning Gaming on the desk with Frosco and Impulse, and I feel like, and I said they're a top 3 team potentially in that group, at least fighting for 3rd place, and a performance like that shows that, if nothing else, they are very good at playing League of Legends.
Yes, I was interested to see how they would be playing today, just because the last time we saw Suning, there were some weird points, like Knight was not having a good time in the mid lane with Zoe, but this is a time we get to see Knight playing well. We get to see Xiao Ao really going hard in the paint. So I just love what I see from Suning Gaming today.
Yeah, not just Knight. It was Knight working with Xiao Ao as a duo, going around the map, assassinating everyone. He had a Magi Soul Stealer at the end of the game, by the way. I saw the conflicting emotions going through the Cassidon's mind as I've killed Gangplank like 3 times in a row now. Nothing's stopping me from doing it a 4th time, but we're about to have one last team fight and the game's going to be over. But I don't have enough money to buy a full item, so what do? Well, I've got 10 stacks on a Dark Seal. We may as well just get a Magi's.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Zonya's Hourglass and if you have the HP from Leandri's Torment, you're just not going to be dying. It's just not going to happen. We saw him dancing around the GP, so why not?
Which is kind of sad for Juno, because he got the solo kill against Xiao Ao in the top lane to kick the match off. And then it just looked like he was being picked on, and every time they took down the Gangplank, Suning pushed for another objective. Was that the fault of the Gangplank, or was that Suning making good plays?
It's just not Brittany's fault. It wasn't his fault at all. It was a moment where he was doing well in his solo lane matchup.
Yeah, he was.
he was doing well in his matchup.
I wasn't ready for that, Raz. I was not ready.
I wanted to pull it out. But yeah, he was doing well in his matchup. He was the only one who was really doing well in the matchup, and so that was really a difficult position where you have Cassidon and you have the Camille, and at that point when the towers are completely destroyed, they're just going to be running freely.
Yeah, and I wrote it during the draft phase. Bot lane, rotate from 6 to top lane and kill Gangplank. Well, it didn't even need to be bottom lane in this case. What actually happened was they went to mid, they unlocked Knight, and then Knight went up there as well. And the thing is, no matter how well you play top lane, if everywhere else on the map is losing, eventually it's going to spill over to you. We saw it from Mouse on Rogue Warriors in the last set, just as much as we saw it in this game here for Jino in the top lane of LGD. It's unfortunate for him, as well as he wants to play, it doesn't matter in the end.
Well, hopefully the next team that plays against LGD is going to leave Brittany alone, because LGD, 2 games in front of their home crowd and 2 losses so far. Is this the start to a disastrous split for them, or, you know, is it just the beginning?
I mean, it's always just the beginning in a lot of cases.
Beginning of a disastrous split.
I mean, come on. I'm just saying, because I would say it's the beginning of the mid laner now, Yuki, of course, his kind of career, how he's going to be starting it off, if he's going to be improving, if the team can really gel well with it, because usually a lot of plays start with a mid lane, and I think in this time around, he was kind of outmatched in a lot of cases. He tried to move with the team.
Yeah.
And I think the team just didn't have a proper strategy how to take top lane tower when bottom lane was just kind of falling up pieces. So a lot of it comes down to how Yuki is going to be playing with the team, and then how strategy is actually going to be formed. Because there was some good plays individually from top laner, but when they came down to making decisive calls and plays, it just wasn't happening.
It feels like Yuki is not able to really perform on the big stage just yet. I've seen inklings of nerves from him. Obviously, it's very hard to say definitively he is nervous, but it looks like it in the way that he's playing. The Rise ultimate in the bottom lane was entirely unnecessary, but he freaked out and had to press all of the buttons to keep himself alive. And that's just like one example in a sea of them that you see from him in games like this. Going towards helping his team, Amy was the one out of position in the jungle at that stage. Yuki just wants to help, but he also needs to know when to say no to things like this. And to me, that's just because he is the newest member of the team, and he is still getting his sea legs, and he's actually trying to grow and understand how to play himself.
Yeah,
well,
I agree.
Well, that was the last match of Day 5, week number 1 of the LPL, but we still have one more day to come in this week. Tomorrow we have 3 more matches, and all 3 of them will be broadcasted on the English broadcast. First up, it's Billy Gaming taking on Team WE, followed by FunPlus X looking to take on OMG, and Snake going up against EDG in the 3rd and final match. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on tomorrow's schedule? Are there any particular matches that you're going to be looking towards?
I just love seeing Snake going up against EDG. We talk about the neighborhood battle, but it's no longer a neighborhood battle because one team moved to Chongqing. So I would love to see how that matchup goes.
Yep, you saw my matchup. I'm also excited for that one. I would like to see FunPlus X perform well again. We've seen a lot of good things from them in the early game. They've struggled to close out games against OMG, who haven't really shown up at all so far. You do have strong expectations for FunPlus X, but on the flip side, I would like to see OMG exist.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching today's broadcast on behalf of the entire broadcast team, as well as our analysts and as well as our casters. Thank you so much. Unlike what Dom suggests, please go home, get some rest, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.